We all pay it. Most people loathe it. Some are lucky enough to get a rebate. Even fewer of us know how it actually works. We all work hard for the money that we earn, and it feels unfair when we pay more than we should. That's why Rift is here to help. We'll help you make sure that you're not paying a penny extra in tax. Hi, I'm PJ from Rift, and in this video, we'll help you understand how tax works, practice good tax habits, and also make the most out of your income. As good as the taxman's automatic systems are, he still gets things wrong surprisingly often. Anyone who's had a seemingly random rebate show up in their bank account will tell you that. This can happen when HM Revenue and Customs, HMRC, recognises that you've paid too much tax and sends it back your way. So while overpaid tax can and generally does make its way back to you, it's better if it never leaves your pocket in the first place. So it pays to stay on track with how much tax you should be paying. Here's how you do it. Although it may seem like overkill, the government recommends keeping any and all tax records. That might include anything you've received from an accountant or prepared yourself. Folders are your friends. It's a good idea to keep your documents in an old school physical folder or a digital one on your desktop. If you opt for the digital option, make sure you scan both sides of any document and back these up regularly. But do also remember that if you ever need to prove your income, for example when applying for a mortgage, some institutions will only accept original documents. So think hard before ditching hard copies. Either way, filing documents in date order makes it easier to reference any questions you may have for HMRC. If you're a salaried employee, the government says you must keep all records for 22 months from the end of the tax year they relate to. For example, if you have a tax return from July 2020, you'll have to keep it until May 2023. If you're self-employed or in a partnership, it's 5 years from the 31st of January following the end of the record's respective tax year. The most common overpayments are caused by new employment, inaccurate self-assessment forms, and work expenses. When you start a new job, you may be placed on an emergency tax code if your income details aren't received in time by HMRC. An easy way to spot this is if your first paycheck is lower than expected and your tax code is 1257W1, 1257M1, or 1257X. In many cases, this is because your P45 from your old job hasn't been received or hasn't been processed in time. HMRC will repay any overpaid tax through your salary once they have the details they need. But you can speed up the process if you contact them directly. So check your last paycheck and make sure you're not on one of those emergency tax codes. If you are, make sure your employer has the details they need, like your P45, or contact HMRC directly. Another common reason for accidental overpayment is submitting an incorrect self-assessment or tax return. Mistakes can be resolved if you send a corrected version to HMRC. They will then make a repayment or deduct the amount you've overpaid from your total tax owings for the year. HMRC can only go off the information you give them, so they have no way of seeing the money you may be dishing out on the things you need for work if you don't lodge a claim for them. It's a common misconception that you can only claim expenses if you're self-employed or run your own business. The result is many employees end up overpaying tax because they either don't know what they can claim for or don't know they can claim at all. Just before we get into some common examples, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. That way, you can stay up to date with the best ways to make your money go further, because you're always better off with Rift. Now that's done, here are some examples of where you may be paying too much tax. If you're a salaried employee, you might be able to claim tax relief if you use your own money for things that you must buy for your job, and you only use these things for your work. pretty vague, right? Well, the good news is that means a wide range of your work-related costs could be eligible for a rebate. Here's one example we know all too well at Rift. Let's say your employer has multiple work sites. You drive to one site from home, but later that day, you're told to drive your own car to a different site to carry out your job. That journey counts as an expense and makes you eligible for a rebate. Now imagine that's a common occurrence in your job. That could be one heck of a refund you owed from the taxman just from driving back and forth. Bear in mind though, your original journey from home doesn't count. It would just be the journeys between work sites. In the day-to-day running of your business, you will most likely have a number of associated costs. As well as the usual suspects of stationery and travel, you might be surprised by some of the expenses you can claim. Even the headlines on HMRC's list of what you can claim covers a really broad range of areas. Office, property and equipment, car, van and travel expenses, clothing expenses, staff expenses, reselling goods, legal and financial costs, marketing, entertainment and subscriptions, and training courses. It's important to note any purchases for personal use do not qualify, so unless your brand new smart TV is going to be used purely as a monitor, it's unfortunately not a business expense. All taxpayers can legally appoint someone to contact HMRC on their behalf. If you just need some help from a family member, they can apply to be registered as a trusted helper. For someone to actually correspond on your behalf, you'll need to write to HMRC and make them an intermediary. For those who want to be as hands-off as possible, you'll just need to appoint an actual agent to process your tax, and HMRC may ask you to complete a special form. If you're curious about how much you could claim, we've designed a handy tool that will see if you're eligible for any rebates. Click the link below and you'll get a claim estimate in under a minute. Make sure you also subscribe to the Rift YouTube channel to stay up to date. Thanks for watching.